All right, guys, and we're back with another episode of Two Collectors and Beyond podcast. As always, I am your host, Action Figure Guy 26. Unfortunately, Mr. Pokeddy won't be joining us today, but we are joined by the one and only Mr. Hector Martinez. Hector, where can they find you on social media, the people?
Well, you can find me on Facebook under my name, Hector Martinez, or you can find me on Instagram as Starchild61.
Perfect. So we're doing this interview today because one, this man right here is the greatest influence for me actually to start collecting and to take care of my figures and everything I'm doing.
Thank you.
And because this man is, in my opinion, one of the largest Bruce Lee collectors that I've seen. So it's going to be good to see his collection and see what insights he has for us.
Sounds good.
All right, so usually, guys, we start the ball rolling with a little bit of toy news and TCG news. We're going to switch it up a little bit and focus a little bit more on the collecting aspect of it. So today I'm going to be talking with you, Hector, a little bit about the line I've been collecting called Mezco. So since we are talking all martial arts today, I figured, this guy would be appropriate.
Nice. Oh, yeah.
So he actually reminds me, and I need your help with it, of a movie that I remember you showing me of a samurai who his family got murdered and the only one that survived was his child. And it was just him and his child on the road.
You're talking about Shogun Assassin.
Well, this figure is actually dedicated to that movie.
Is that so? Like the Lone Wolf and Cub series?
Yeah, so this figure is actually called the Lone Roach and Grub. So you got the little grub on the back.
You gotta love it.
So this is the staple of Mezco. This is their mascot. It's a roach. I know it's weird, but yeah, they've actually done a couple of figures with him. It's dope because like everything's cloth. It's very articulated, very detailed. It comes with a ton of accessories. The accessories are actually like functional. Comes with like little chucks on the bottom.
Wow, so cool.
This is actually like his little hoverboard.
Oh, there you go.
So like a traditional Japanese painting, and it's actually magnetized to the feet on the bottom.
Sweet.
So
you know what I like about that piece, Joshua? It's got the banner that's actually the same as the banner that Ogami Ito, the Lone Wolf.
Yes.
Ogami Ito has a banner on the on his baby carriage.
I remember that much.
It's called the Baby Card Series. So it's based on that banner. What the banner says is a samurai for hire.
This one actually says his name.
well, that's cool. That's cool.
But I remember you actually had a figure of that movie, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I still do have it. Yeah, it's from a company called. It's a Japanese piece. It's from a company called Alfrex Limited, and Alfrex was the only Japanese company that had the license to many of the top Japanese movie stars of the 60s and the 70s. And Ogami Ito was one of them. And he is, in real life, he was the brother of Shintaro Katsu, who happens to be Zatoichi.
Okay.
The blind swordsman.
Yes. I actually have, for our second section of the podcast, a couple movies that I want to talk to you about. But yeah, I've been focusing on Mezco right now. Those roaches, they're directly exclusive to to their website. So the collecting world, as soon as that's sold out, it's no longer available. And they usually range in retail from anywhere from 120 to the last one that just came out, that actually just got delivered.
We all wait for packages in the mail. You know how it is.
Well, that one was supposed to be the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive, but since we didn't have San Diego Comic-Con, they did like a virtual experience. So it was the first and only time that I actually had the opportunity to buy it without having to pay aftermarket price.
Well, that's how you do it. I mean, the minute these pieces come out, you got to jump on them because The thing is now, Joshua, you know as a collector that now with eBay, you've got people that jump on these pieces and then they put them on eBay and they sell them for double and even triple the price.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of destroys the market and makes it difficult for the collector to acquire such pieces. So the best thing to do is you sacrifice, you come up with the money, and immediately you jump on it the minute it comes out. No ifs, ands, or buts. That's the only way you're going to get that piece.
No, yeah, I agree. 5 minutes after that figure was sold out, because it's a box that comes with the figure, shirts, and a couple of stuff.
Mm,
5 minutes after that was sold out, eBay, $500.
that's it. That's how it is.
And unfortunately,
Yeah.
I don't know how you feel about it, but us in the toy photography community, we hate scalpers. Like
Oh, of course.
it's something where it unmotivates you to continue collecting and continue in this hobby. Like what?
Indeed. I mean, yeah. Joshua, the thing is that it comes with its good and its bad. We all know that everybody has to make a living. So some people, I mean, it's okay if you buy 2 or 3 pieces, but I know of people that if they can fill up the back of their pickup truck and make a profit, they'll do it because all they think about is money. We as collectors, my collection, in other words, I don't look at it as an investment. I really don't. My collection brings me pleasure, and it's something that when I come home from a hard day's work, I like to sit down and enjoy my pieces. I never think about investing or about prices climbing up in the future. But these people, these scalpers, they don't think about collecting per se. They think about making money. So they're more like pimps, if you think about it.
Yeah, and it's just a horrible system.
Of course.
All right, so let's get into you, Hector. So, what got you started with collecting?
Well, it's pretty interesting you would ask that, Joshua, because just the other day I was talking to a friend of mine at work, and I told him that what got me collecting was when I was 10 years old. My mother and I went to a friend's house to take them some food. This is back in the 60s. When I walked into this person's house, the apartment was very humble, but in the living room, he had a couple of shelves. And on top of the shelves, he had the most beautiful display of Aurora Monster model kits, built and painted professionally. And I was like 9 or 10 years old, so I really didn't know what I was looking at. So I remember I told my mother to ask him where did he get them, and he said that he bought them at a hobby shop. He sent them away to a professional artist. He put it together. He painted the figures, and they were beautifully displayed. And Joshua, that stood with me in my mind and in my heart. And I picked up the collecting bug, but it wasn't Aurora models. I started collecting G.I. Joe from 1964 and all the way up to the early 70s. And of course, that led to what I'm doing now.
Yeah, and it's funny that you say that because G.I. Joe actually, I'm not sure if you gone out to like a toy store or anything recently, but Hasbro just acquired the licensing again, and they've gone all full G.I. Joe, like the retro series.
Indeed, yeah. Actually, a couple of years ago, when we were living in Brooklyn, I believe that the Walmart had acquired the rights. So they were selling the reissues of the G.I. Joes, the 12, not the 7-inch G.I. Joes, but the 12-inch G.I. Joes by Hasbro.
Mm-hmm.
I think Walmart was selling them. I never bought them, Joshua, because I enjoy vintage items. I like vintage toys and the boxes that they come in. So when you hold them, it reminds you of a golden era, and you know that you're holding something that's authentic and vintage. There's nothing else quite like it. I don't like reproductions. I'm not a fan of reissues. I enjoy collecting old school and vintage. So what I did, Joshua, I managed to put my entire G.I. Joe collection again on eBay. So I went on eBay and I bought them piece by piece. And now I've got most of them from the 60s and all the way to 70, 75.
Yeah,
The year, 64 to 75.
that's that childhood nostalgia right there of having that figure that you had, when you were a kid. Um,
Indeed.
I actually got that when they started re-releasing like the original Power Ranger line.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
so yeah, I originally got that when I got those figures. And for me, well, obviously coming to he's my uncle, guys. I used to go to his aunt to my aunt's house and my uncle's house, and they had a house like a couple. It was like a couple houses down, right? If I wasn't mistaken, when you guys moved out.
Yes, right. Yeah, just a few houses, the same block and a few houses down.
Yeah, a few houses down. The apartment was small, but I remember in the living room, he had like his whole collection on display. The couch there, the TV set up to watch out all the martial arts movies, and that inspired me to start collecting. And at that time, I was watching the anime Gundam Wing, so I used to get the model kits, and they
I
had it.
remember that. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I remember. I used to get the model kits. They had like in the back, like the collector page where you see like all different ones. But yeah, that
Joshua,
originally.
I'm sorry. Remember when you and I, when you were a kid, we used to go to Chinatown to the toy stores out there on Canal Street.
Yeah, to find the Gundams, yeah.
We used to go to this mall. It's a mall that went down these escalators, and I remember when you used to look at those robots and the Gundam and the Dragon Ball Z, and I'm not much into that, but I remember you would light up, and you became. I mean, you were already a little kid, but you became even littler.
Hmm.
But you see, that's the spark in the eye that every collector has when they see something that touches their soul and their spirit, something that they like, something that they can relate to. So when you see something like that, I mean, you glow. You literally glow of the excitement, and that's what you had when we used to go to the toy stores.
Definitely. No, that was like the best hunting for the Gundams, and then afterwards, order of dumplings.
You're right. Absolutely. Those we used to have the your favorites were the pork and chives dumplings. I'll never forget that. And
Um,
don't forget the soybean milk.
yeah, I miss that so much. So continuing on with your collection, what would you consider is like your grail?
Well, before I tell you what my grail to me is, I want to make clear that from the from the most humblest piece to the let's say the priciest piece, there's no differentiating between them because every piece has a meaning to me. Like I have a magazine that I paid maybe let's say like $10 for it, but it means so much because it brings me so many memories of a great time, and it's priceless to me. So it doesn't have anything to do with price or quality. But my Grail is actually it's Bruce Lee's personal business card that he used to give out to a potential student. So if he saw you, he saw that there was some kind of ability in you to become a student in his school, he'll give you his card, and then with a pen, he'll write on the back of the card the address to his Kung Fu school in Los Angeles, Chinatown, and he'd give it to you. So that's my Grail. I actually have a card that he had that he wrote on the back the address to his Kung Fu school, and on the front is the schedule to the dates when he was teaching, written in his hand.
That's amazing. That yeah,
And, and I'm sorry, Joshua, it's from 1967.
1967, and it's
Correct.
still.
When he was, yes, that was a year after he was Kato in the Green Hornet.
Do you have it like in case, or is it like pretty preserved?
Oh, indeed, it's between two pieces of ice, what we call ice. The
Okay.
block, the glass block.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And don't you dare touch it because I got a sword right next to it.
For me,
Just kidding, bro.
I don't know. I don't know any value worth of anything in your collection, but for me, the grail of your collection would be the crow part of your collection, just because I was more of a fan of Brandon Lee.
Ah, yeah,
So,
of course.
so I remember back in the day, I loved just how it came out, just this leather jacket that you had with the crow I'm not sure what kind of material it had in the back, but it just had the crow outline of the actual movie, and I just love that jacket. That for me was the grail of your collection.
Thank you, thank you. That was made by, I think it was made by a friend of mine, my friend Jose. Is it the one that you thought it was an oil painting on the back of the motorcycle jacket?
Yes.
That was made by a friend of mine. Are the original arms that Brandon Lee used in the movie? The movie when he actually gets shot in the center of his hand, and then he looks at Fun Boy through the hole in his hand. So what I have is the prosthetic arm that was used in the movie that Brandon actually put up his sleeve in his trench coat, and he looks through that prosthetic arm. So that's one of my grails in my collection.
Um, I just love the crow. I could talk about the crow all day. Okay.
Oh yeah, it can't rain all the time.
So was there ever an item that you let go or sold that you regret or haven't gotten back yet?
In Bruce Lee, or could it be in any other thing that I collected?
No, in general, in your collection.
About 15 years ago, I had put together a nice vintage GI Joe collection, and there were some pieces, some Bruce Lee pieces that I wanted to acquire, but they were a bit too expensive. So the only ways for me to acquire those pieces were by selling my GI Joe collection. So I sold my GI Joe collection, and I got the money for that piece. But you know, a couple of weeks later, you know, guilt starts, you know, sinking in, and I felt bad because you know, I sold my GI Joe collection. So that's one thing I had regret doing. But they're back.
Yeah, they're back in style. So
Indeed.
similar question, but just an item that you've passed on that you didn't purchase.
You mean the girl that got away?
Yeah, the girl that got away, the great white buffalo.
Yeah. Well, wow. That's a. You know, off. Let's see. I would say like a really good rare Bruce Lee poster that I had the opportunity to buy, but I thought it was a bit too expensive, and I didn't go there. And then being that I didn't go there, somebody else did, and I missed out. And you know how it is. You always want something that somebody else has, or you want something that you could have had, but you missed out on. That's when you really start wanting it. So I would say it was a vintage Bruce Lee poster. It was quite rare, and you know what, Joshua? Didn't see it again on eBay. Didn't see it again. And I've got two friends who actually own that poster, and I've been trying to do a trade with them, but they know how rare it is that they don't want to let it go. So you know, I can dig it, because if I find it, and if I do, I'm going to go for it, and it's never going to leave the collection.
No, yeah, that always sucks. An item that it's like right in your grasp, and like especially on eBay when someone swoops in the last minute and just snipes that sale away from you. That's the worst.
You know, you want to break your computer after that. You know. But listen, you know, it's all good because you know, there's a saying. It's much more blessed to give than to receive. So
Yes.
if somebody outbids me on eBay and they get it, I know how happy they are. So you know what? It's all good. It's all good because I know that somebody else is happy. But Joshua, down the line, you know I'm going to get it. I'm not going to pass on it again. I don't care who you are. You're not going to outbid me the next time.
Yeah, it's like right now I'm selling my Marvel Legends from Hasbro. I'm done with the line. Unfortunately, they haven't evolved to my liking, and I've just been really focused on Mezco. But I've been trying my best to sell these figures to other collectors and make sure that I keep it out of the hands of scalpers, and it's actually going to a home that's going to be appreciated.
Excellent. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I've got people that have actually contacted me, and they say, you know, I want to offer you this piece, Hector, that I'm selling from my collection, because if I put it on eBay, there's a possibility that somebody's going to find it and they're going to try to make a profit from it. But I believe that this piece belongs in your collection. So at least I can go into your Facebook account and I can see it from time to time in your display case. So it's not totally lost. It's not, it hasn't totally gone from my hands. I can still see it. So, but you're right. You're doing a good thing because you're helping out the collectors community at the same time. So that's beautiful.
Yeah, I've avoided so much of posting them on eBay, not because I don't want to sell them all, but yeah, I just don't want them to go to a house that's not going to be appreciated.
That's cool. That's cool. Hmm.
So my next question, in your opinion, which company has produced the best Bruce Lee figure in terms of likeness, accessories, and articulation?
That's a very easy question to answer. It's a company from Hong Kong. It's called Enterbay. And Enterbay is it's a Hong Kong-based company. And the artist that started sculpting Bruce Lee for Enterbay is a Korean artist by the name of Arnie Kim. And Arnie Kim is considered by many Bruce Lee fans as the only man to capture the soul of Bruce Lee in his action figures. Because when you see the face sculpt, the head sculpt, you're not looking at a doll, you're not looking at an action figure, you're actually looking at a small 1/6 scale sculpture. And the likeness is so dead on, it's so on point, Joshua. The eyes, the mouth, the hair. Back in the days when I started collecting Bruce Lee, they basically sculpt an Asian character with a kung fu suit, and then they'll place him in a box with Bruce Lee's name on it and a photo of the real Bruce Lee. So, but then came, Arnie Kim. Enter Arnie Kim. Arnie Kim came in, and he did just such a masterful job at sculpting Bruce Lee that, bro, it's just a pleasure to own it and a pleasure to display and a pleasure to share with other collectors. Arnie Kim and Enterbay are the #1 company when it comes to Bruce Lee.
I think he showcased it on your Facebook. If I'm not mistaken, it's the one with the black and yellow suit as well.
Yes, that's correct. He did well. He sculpted from different series: Enter the Dragon, Game of Death, Fist of Fury, and The Way of the Dragon. And he's also done my 1/4 scale statues, which I also have. Joshua, I'm not bragging. This is part of the interview, naturally. I was very blessed to acquire one of Arnie Kim's very first attempts at Bruce Lee. This is not a mass-produced figure. It's a figure that was actually made by his hands in his studio in Korea. And it's a 1/4 scale. It's 18 inches tall. It's a Game of Death figure that, as a matter of fact, let me show it to you.
Thing's massive.
Yeah, it's a pretty big piece. It's an 18-inch piece. And this was, let me see if I can get the face in there a little bit.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
really good.
He sculpted the head, he sculpted the hands, and he also sculpted the sneakers.
That's really good.
Yeah, you really have to see this in person to appreciate it. But Joshua, this is actually Arnie Kim's very first Bruce Lee before Enterbay contracted him to mass produce the figures.
And is that a cloth material on him, or is that just sculpted?
No,
Cloth?
it's made of cloth. Yeah.
Wow, that's real nice and real detailed.
Got the nunchaku and yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
for being the first one that he sculpted.
Yeah. He actually made 30. There's 30 in the world of these pieces, and I actually bought that from a guy in Korea. He contacted me. I had a website back in the days. Remember when we used to have MySpace?
Yeah.
Remember that? We had MySpace, and I also had my own website. And he tuned into my website, and he said, "Well, you're a Bruce Lee fan and collector. I've got a figure that you might be interested in." And when he showed me that, bro, it totally blew me away. It's very pricey, but I managed to get it, and I'm very proud to have it. It's a good figure.
Yeah, it is a really, really good figure.
Thank you,
Um,
brother.
and Brian actually gave me this last question here. Um, what what figure or statue would you like made of a character that a company hasn't attempted before? So any martial arts character that you have in mind. To just throw an example outside, just like imagine a company doing the five deadly venoms.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you remember when we were kids? When we were kids. When you were a kid, we used to play the Jackie Chan films
Yes.
on VHS. Drunken Master and the Snake in the Eagle Shadow. Uh, but I love Jackie Chan as well. But companies have done figures on Jackie Chan. So my second figure that I would like to be made, which hasn't been licensed and has never been made, is a Jim Kelly action figure.
Ooh.
Jim Kelly is the African American from Enter the Dragon.
Mm-hmm.
Jim Kelly happens to be one of the coolest, baddest martial artists, so charismatic, so amazing. I had the opportunity of meeting him twice at the Chiller Convention in New Jersey. And Jim Kelly is such a phenomenal athlete, and I mean so inspirational because he grew up in the hood just like you and me. And he came out of the hood and he became famous, successful, and had thousands or probably millions of fans. And he never knew, he was so humble, Joshua, that he didn't know how many fans he had until we saw him in person at the Chiller Convention in New Jersey. He was overwhelmed by the love, and he says, man, I didn't know, I thought people forgot about me, because the last movie I did was back in 1976, and here we are, the year 2010, and the fans are still coming to see me. So he was very grateful. It shows you what kind of person he was. And sadly, he passed away a few years ago. So I would love to have a licensed figure of Jim Kelly in my collection.
Nice. I'm pretty sure you wouldn't be the only one, because if he does have that big of a fan base, a lot of people out there will be listening. So if any toy companies are listening to this, get on it. Jim Kelly figure. And
That's
please,
it.
if you're going to do it right.
You're right.
All right. So we're actually going to wrap this up for ads real quick, guys. We'll be right back with our second section of the podcast right after these ads.
And we're back from those ads. Now we're going to be heading into what usually is the beyond of our section, where we just open up the floor to talk about anything that we want. But we're going to be talking about some martial arts movies, and Mr. Martinez has a couple of goodies there for us. So you want to start that off, Mr. Martinez?
My pleasure. Well, earlier we were talking about G.I. Joes, so I thought it'd be appropriate that I'd share with you some of my acquisitions. This one here is from 1964. This is a pilot, the G.I. Joe pilot from 1964. This is the one that started it all, Joshua.
Yeah, it's funny because I remember Israel with his collection as well.
Yeah. He collects a lot of the, soldiers from all over the world, actually.
Yeah, because he collects the dragon figures as well, right?
Right, the dragon figures, right. This one is from 74. So this one has the beard, the lifelike hair and the beard.
For you guys listening at home, the one he's showing, he is actually a G.I. Joe that appears in a lot of episodes of That 70s Show. It's like the main one that they always show in the background.
That's cool. All right, and last but not least, this is the one that you started your show with, your episode with. And this is from a company called Alfrex in Japan. No longer in business. And this is no longer produced.
Oh, nice. Yeah, so we were talking about it.
This is the Lone Wolf and Cub.
See, I would have loved that little cart for my lone roach.
And here's the banner.
Samurai for hire.
Yep, this is. It's kind of like the banner that you got.
Yeah.
The name of this character is actually Ogami Ito, and he was the Shogun's official decapitator. But the Shogun eventually went insane, and he turned against his decapitator.
Mm-hmm.
And he killed his wife, which was a big no-no, and he turned from Shogun decapitator to a lone wolf, and with his son, Daigoro, he was his cub. So lone wolf and cub.
So a little fun fact to add there as well, from my expertise. If you guys ever listen to the song by Wu-Tang Clan, Liquid Swords, the beginning intro is actually from that movie.
Shogun Assassin, you're right.
Yeah, it's funny because RZA has always been a big lover of movies, specifically the Shaw Brother movies. Like, he is a big fan, and like, not only has he evolved as an artist in music, but he's also evolved in martial arts because he actually practices himself, and he's done actual martial arts movies. He did The Man with Iron Fists.
With the Iron Fists. Oh yeah. Actually, part 1 and 2.
Yes, part 1 and 2.
Uh-huh.
To my knowledge, that's the only martial arts film that I've actually seen him in, right?
Yeah. I don't think he's done any more. I mean, well, you know, there's a saying: if you don't have anything good to say, don't say anything at all. So, you know, I guess I said enough with that, right? But the RZA is masterful at his music.
Yes.
Also, he makes some great soundtracks. He did the soundtrack to it's something with Afro Samurai.
Yeah.
I believe it is.
Yeah.
He did the music to that, which was pretty heavy. I love that. The RZA, I can relate to the RZA because the RZA reminds me of me when I used to go to Times Square, 42nd Street. I was a teenager, and I had my share of, well, it was back in the days. I had my share of porn and kung fu.
Mm-hmm.
And so the RZA grew up with the 5 Deadly Venoms, and of course he stated before that his the movie that got him started into forming the Wu-Tang Clan is the 36 Chamber of Shaolin, which is a bona fide classic. And I respect the RZA. The RZA he's a true kung fu film connoisseur.
Yes.
Sure. Yep.
And it's funny that you actually mentioned the 5 Deadly Venoms because that's actually a movie that I had here that I want to talk about. It's probably one of the first movies that you've shown me by the Shaw Brothers. And it's one of my favorite ones because of like the design of the actual movie, the mask, the different fighting animal styles. Like, it just reminded me so much of the Power Rangers. That's why like it automatically clicked and like I loved it.
Oh, indeed. It's kind of like a superhero type of film.
Mm-hmm.
It's a combination of martial arts and superhero. I think the 5 Deadly Venoms. They got the centipede, the snake, the lizard, the scorpion, the toad, which is actually my favorite. Joshua, I don't know if I told you, but a couple of years ago, I went to a convention called the Urban Action Showcase at the AMC Theater on 42nd Street. And I had the honor to meet one of the 5 Deadly Venoms, man. I met the Liu Feng, who played the centipede.
Yes.
So I got to meet him. Very cool guy, man. Very, very nice man. His English was, a bit on the tough side, but such a great martial artist, man. He's been in so many Shaw Brothers films. Shaw Brothers, I don't know if you know this, Joshua, you weren't even born, actually, of course. But in 1973, the very first movie that I saw from the Shaw Brothers was a small film that they tested in America. Warner Brothers released it just to test out the waters, so to speak. It was a movie called King Boxer, but America knows it and loves it as Five Fingers of Death.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the very first movie that came to America in 1973. Before Bruce Lee, before naturally the Five Deadly Venoms, it was Five Fingers of Death. And that actually happens to be my very favorite non-Bruce Lee film. Have you seen it?
Yeah, well, yeah, trust me. One of those days where you were taking care of me on a weekend, I'm pretty sure you put it on because as soon as you mentioned it, it rang a bell.
I gave you your share of Kung Fu films, right?
No, and I appreciate it because that culture and that knowledge is something that it's not something that it's moved me to success or anything like that. But it's nice to understand that culture and see different films, the way they're made and the way they're actually written and portrayed. And everyone has
That's cool.
their gripes with these movies because of
The
the
bad dubbing.
the bad dubbing. Yeah, but at the end of the day, if you're really there for the stories were interesting and they were very, very well thought out.
Absolutely, absolutely. It was always based on revenge. But hey, listen, you take it like a grain of salt. I mean, it was kind of like watching a cartoon. You know, when you see these kung fu films. But Joshua, if you're in a room and somebody's watching a kung fu film, you don't have to see it. Once you listen to it, the dialogue, you know you're watching a kung fu film. The same way you can listen and you know when you're watching a cartoon. You know, it's something about the way they speak and the music. You know, it's a genre all itself, but a good one.
But do you remember the first? If I'm not mistaken, it was R-rated or PG-13. Do you remember the first R-rated or PG-13 movie you let me watch? I was about that age, about 13, 14.
Yeah, well, I hope your mother's not listening to this, but no, nothing to be ashamed about. Well, Joshua, the movies like The Crow, the Five Deadly Venoms, they are considered to be R-rated because of there's no sex involved, but because of the violence, the gouging out of eyes, the stabbing, using axes to cut people up, intestines coming out of their bowels spilling on the ground. But it's fun. It's all tongue in cheek. But those were the movies that I played for you when you were a kid.
No,
I hope you didn't turn out, sadistic or anything.
no. But this one was by far the
Just
most.
kidding.
This one was by far the most bloodiest one of all the ones you've shown me. It was The Master of the Flying Guillotine.
Oh, yeah. Talk about that was a bloodbath of decapitation, man.
Yeah, but it was a nice little device that he had. How he would just shoot it out and take the heads off.
Indeed. Yeah, that's a good one. They had there's actually 3 movies that have to do with that device. One of them is the one that you saw, called The Flying Guillotine. You have another one called the Flying Guillotine Part 2, and then you've got another one called The Master of the Flying Guillotine, which is really, really good. I recommend it. Look it up. It's called The Master of the Flying Guillotine, and it stars Jimmy Wang Yu.
Okay.
I
Now,
recommend it.
do you know that they're actually trying to remake the Five Deadly Venoms, like a modern classic one?
I've heard something. Yeah, they're trying to. I heard that Quentin Tarantino was going to be involved in the project, but I don't know, man. It would be nice. Would be nice.
Yeah. So from what I've gathered information on it, the young man that died on Fast and the Furious and he came back, the Asian character, he also came out in Tokyo Drift.
Oh yeah.
This is one of his favorite movies, and he's trying to convince Quentin to back it up and get the rights from the Shaw Brothers and everything. And he wants to play one of the characters.
Of course. I mean, yeah, why not? I mean, I can visualize a modern Five Deadly Venoms. Yeah, sure. I mean, it's. I mean, you know what it is, Joshua? You can't replicate a classic. Something about the atmosphere, the music, the bad dubbing again, the sound effects. I mean, that's what makes these movies very it gives them a specific charm.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, I'm open for to see a remake of it. A modern remake. You never know. We may be in for a treat. And Quentin Tarantino is a big fan of the kung fu film genre, just like you and me. So I'm sure he'll do a good job. Let's see, man. Fingers crossed.
If it's in his hands, I wouldn't be too worried. But I am just the person that leave the classics where they are. Like I refuse to go see any of the new Disney films, not because I have anything against them, but I already saw my classics. Those are my movies. I don't need that to mess up my movies.
I mean, imagine trying to remake, The Godfather or Taxi Driver, or, Raging Bull. I mean, why even bother to remake, a classic? I mean, leave them alone. They were created for a special time and place, and it worked its magic, and that's it. They're memorable, and whenever you want to see them again, you just you watch them on home video. But we've had many failures with remakes lately. So there was even talk that Spike Lee, get a load of this one, Joshua. There was even talk and rumors that Spike Lee was thinking about doing a remake of Enter the Dragon. I mean, how could you do a remake of Enter the Dragon? Number one, you don't have Bruce Lee or anybody that comes close to him. Recently, we lost John Saxon. John Saxon passed away about a week ago, and Jim Kelly is gone. Those were the three main characters. And of course, where are you going to find these characters that match the charisma and charm that those three had? It's impossible. So I can't see any remakes like that. But a Shaw Brothers remake, why not? Sure, I'll go for it.
Have you seen the last Quentin Tarantino movie, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
The only part I saw was the Bruce Lee segment.
Okay.
But I didn't see the entire film. No.
No, but that's what I wanted to talk to you about. Like, what do you think about that actor?
Yeah. Well, Joshua, you're talking to a hardcore Bruce Lee fan. I'm strictly Bruce Lee, and Bruce Lee. Mm-hmm. I can't accept anybody else. I can't. It's, and in the way they depicted Bruce Lee and what's his name, the Brad Pitt. Bro, I'm not even. I'm speechless.
No, I was not a fan of that scene, honestly. Like, they made Bruce Lee seem all pretentious and like really like full of himself. I wasn't a fan of that scene. Bruce Lee broke out of racial barriers. They always had Bruce Lee back in the 60s in the back seat. Bruce Lee was much more talented and way ahead of his time, more so than any of his predecessors and all those actors that he played with back in the 60s. Bruce Lee was a force to be reckoned with, and he proved himself in the 70s with Enter the Dragon. When Warner Brothers released Enter the Dragon, people got to see Bruce Lee. And after he did that, for Quentin Tarantino to put him back again as a second banana and have Brad Pitt defeat him, it didn't sit well with me, man, really. No, it didn't.
I was disgusted and appalled and insulted. So, forget about that.
No, but I wasn't too much of a fan of that scene. It wasn't in good taste.
Indeed it was. Indeed it wasn't.
All right, so let's talk about another GOAT, Mr. Adam West.
Adam West, that man. Yeah. I got to meet Adam West at the Chiller Convention a couple of years ago. And all I can say is that I grew up watching Batman and the 1966 TV series, and of course came the Green Hornet. Adam West is a childhood hero of mine, although I don't collect Batman memorabilia, but you can't forget the theme of the series by Neil Hefti. You can't forget the opening, the pow, zap, boom from the characters. I mean, it was very colorful. You can't forget the villains that they had in the Batman TV series. I mean, it was a great show. Every child from my era remembers Batman and Robin from '66. And yeah, man, yeah, much respect for Adam West and Burt Ward, both of them. Yeah. I enjoyed the TV series. Yes, I did.
So I actually met Mr. West a couple months before he passed away.
Wow.
Yeah, he was out here for a Puerto Rico Comic-Con, and I was actually working at the Comic-Con. I wasn't there just like roaming around. So the first day that we were shutting down, he was actually coming out of his booth, and like they tell us like not to bother them or ask for pictures because they're strictly there if you want to buy them. And I was like, Mr. West, I'm a big fan. I know your work through my uncle. You will be and always will be my favorite Batman, and I just want you to let you know that. He took his time to tell me to ask the people that was escorting him to give him a second, and he's like, "Would you like to take a picture, young man, or would you like me to autograph something for you?" He's like, "There's not very much young men these days that I know that actually know who I am." So
that's terrific.
He's like, if they do know me, they know me as the mayor of Family Guy.
Right.
He had the voice. But I actually had a comic book that I had just purchased at the Comic-Con that it was by Kevin Smith, that he did a Green Hornet and Kato comic book. I'm not sure if you knew this.
Yes, I did. Beautiful, beautiful art.
I had
It's
this.
outstanding.
I had it. I bought it because one, I'm a big Green Hornet fan, just because you showed that to me, and because he was there, I was like, let me see if I can. If I hope, if it's not, it's fine. I have the comic at least. He signed that comic. I finally got the guts and the money to send it to PSA so it could get graded and everything.
Oh, wow.
But yes, I got to meet him. I didn't take a picture because my phone was dead at that time, but I did get him to sign the comic, and I'm just waiting it for come back from PSA with the grading, and that's going to be just framed on the wall.
That's terrific. That's Joshua, let me tell you something, bro. When I met Adam West, I wanted to get a photo or his autograph, but guess what, brother? I couldn't afford him. He was charging $100 for an autograph. And for him to come to you and offer an autograph and a photo free of charge, that's amazing, bro. You won him over. That doesn't happen every day, man. Well, that's such a touching story, man. Good for you, bro. Good for you.
It broke my heart, just like it broke my heart when I heard that Stan Lee died. But yeah, it broke my heart that there's another fellow, well, he's not a fellow, but he also does podcasters. His name is Ralph Garman. He used to do a lot of voice acting with Adam West, and he was like one of his personal close friends and biggest fans.
Yes. Uh-huh.
When that man did that podcast, he was crying the whole podcast, just explaining like his love and his connection for Adam West.
Wow.
And, yeah, it sucks losing, great people like that.
Well, Adam West is a legend. And speaking of Ralph Garman?
Garman, yeah.
Ralph Garman. I saw a video on YouTube where he actually invites Adam West to his Batcave.
Yeah.
Oh, man, Joshua, I had a knot on my throat. It was so emotional. When you see Adam West, the expression on Adam West's face, when he walks in and he looks and he says, Ralph, you've got such an amazing collection. Mm-hmm. But the way he said it, bro, it made me teary-eyed because he saw something special. And you know what? Adam West said something that has stuck with me. He says, there's collectors, Batman collectors, where their collection gets bigger. But he looks at Ralph Garman and he says, but your collection got smarter. In other words, what you have is quality on top of quality. Not about quantity, but quality. quality, of course. So Adam West connected to the pieces that Ralph Garman had in his collection. But Joshua, it's such a fabulous video. It's only 4 minutes long, but I must have seen it about 3 or 4 times. It's just amazing, man. Such appreciation for Ralph Garman's collection.
He actually just bought the Batmobile.
The 66 Batmobile, the one that was auctioned for $5 million.
No, he got a replica. He didn't get that original one, but he just bought a replica of it.
In the building where I used to work at, there was a multimillionaire that used to come in every day, not every day, but every couple of weeks, every couple of weeks to see a billionaire that had his office in the building. And this multimillionaire used to come into the building, most of the time kind of drunk. Sadly, he was an alcoholic, but he was a rich alcoholic. And Joshua, one day I'm sitting down and I'm watching the George Barris Batmobile auction, and guess who the high bidder was?
That man?
The guy that used to come to my building. Yes, he was the high bidder, man. I'm like, I know that guy. So he bought the Batmobile not to drive it around, but, bro, to display it in his living room.
I mean, I would.
Imagine what kind of a living room this guy must have had.
Yeah.
But I hear he sold it. I don't think he kept it long. I think he sold it again. But this guy had the original Batmobile in his living room as a display.
Yeah, 2 years ago it was auctioned off again for I think $6 million, almost close to $7 million.
Ah, there you go. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, because Ralph was talking about it on his podcast. I forget the name of the podcast that they have. It's with Kevin Smith as well. The name is not coming to me right now. But yeah, he keeps a close eye on it, and he was finally able to get a replica. So good for him.
That's cool too. Yeah, I mean, I've seen some really good replicas, man. They're just like the original.
Oh, here we go. Hollywood Babylon is the name of the podcast that he does with
Hollywood Babylon. Oh, okay.
Yeah, dude.
Joshua, if you give me a second, I'd like to share something with you that I think you'll find interesting.
Of course.
Give me a second. All right.
We're all here for you.
Thank you. Be right back. Give me a second.
All right, guys. For you guys listening at home, my uncle Hector, he went to get something from his collection to show off for us. So I'm wondering what this is. It's going to be a goodie.
It's going to be a good one. I'll be there in a second.
And I'll take this time to just thank you guys once again for tuning in for another episode of Two Collectors and Beyond. As always, we appreciate the love, the support, the follows, the comments, and the shares, which is really helping us out get more listeners and get more followers on our pages. So if it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't be able to keep this going. So thank you guys.
Sorry about that, Joshua. I just wanted to share something with you, being that we're on the topic. This is the original soundtrack to the theme of Batman, and this is from 1966.
That's Neil Hefti.
Neil Hefti, yes, he's the composer. And this is the original theme. And the producers of Batman, of course, came out with my favorite superhero show.
The Green Hornet.
The Green Hornet. And this is also from 1966. And it's got some of the pictures of the Black Beauty, the Green Hornet.
See, this right here is a classic that they try to remake and they just destroyed.
Yeah, that Seth Rogen film was I didn't think much about it.
No.
That's all I'm going to say.
Those are nice pieces. I do have fond memories of you cleaning your disc and playing them for me, so I can hear the original soundtracks.
You're right.
So one last thing that I wanted to talk to you about before we run out of time. We have approximately about 8 minutes.
Okay.
Drunken Master, Jackie Chan. So
Hmm.
when you have a chance, there's a person on Instagram. His name is Old Boy Customs, if I'm not mistaken. He does head sculpts for different figures.
Oh.
And if I'm not mistaken, I actually send you the head sculpt, and I'm like, "Oh, what do you think about this head sculpt? Does it actually look like Jackie Chan?" A
Oh,
while,
indeed.
a
That
while
was a
back,
good one.
yeah.
Yeah.
So he makes phenomenal head sculpts. I'm happy I pre-ordered that one. I already have the body mold that I'm going to use to customize the figure, and I'm happy to say that I'll be having a Drunken Master Jackie Chan figure soon in my collection.
Woo! All right.
Yeah, so
Love it.
I'm gonna be taking a Mezco body. It's a little bit skinnier, but still toned out. I do have the shirt. It's like all ripped up. I have the pants. What I'm looking for, but a buddy of mine is gonna try to attempt to make it for me on a 3D printer, is like the bottle that he would walk around with while he was
Oh
fighting.
yeah, the wine jug.
The wine jug, yes.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, so that's something that I'm happy I'll be getting. He takes a while because obviously he has to mass produce all this and then paint it himself, hand paint it, and then distribute it. So it'll be a while before I actually get it, but I'm actually really, really excited to have that in my collection.
That is so cool, man. Can't wait to see it.
Yeah, we really do appreciate your time and having you here on the podcast. Is there anything else that you would like to share with us or the fans out there?
Well, I just want to say this, Joshua, that I am very, very proud of you. You've become a very educated young man, devoted to your craft. I'm so honored that I've been, I guess, an influence in one way or the other, either small or big, it doesn't matter, just as long as I've been a positive influence to you. And once again, I'm very proud at how you've actually taken your collecting, your hobby, and you've done this. This is so cool. And you're doing things that I don't do. So I'm impressed and so honored to have you as my nephew.
I appreciate that, and yes, you were one of my biggest influences for collecting, and the reason why, yeah, my collection's gotten so big. So my girlfriend and my mom have only you to thank.
Oh, yeah. Now don't get me in trouble now, Joshua. But listen, keep on collecting, man. It's so good to do that. It keeps you young. It keeps you positive. Especially in this day and age. The things that we're going through lately with this pandemic, and people are depressed, they're stressed. Collecting is so much fun. I mean, it just soothes you, comforts you. Continue to do it, man. It's a great hobby. But remember this always, Joshua. Put God first in your life. Everything else is secondary, and you'll be all right.
I appreciate the kind words. I appreciate your wisdom always, and I appreciate you always supporting me in any which way you can. And I appreciate once again you taking out the time to do this with me. This is the first time we've actually done an interview, and I think it went pretty well. Not to say anything, but once again,
you're a good moderator.
Thank you. Once again, Hector, where could they find you on the social medias if they want to see your collection?
Look me up on, sure, you can look me up on Facebook under Hector Martinez, and you'll see a Brandon Lee image right behind me. You can't miss it. Or you can go on Instagram. I am under StarChild61. So look me up on Instagram, StarChild61, when occasionally I'll post a few rare Bruce Lee photos or photos of other things that I collect.
Perfect. Thank you once more. So let's wrap this up. Once again, thank you for tuning into another episode of Two Collectors and Beyond podcast. You can find our IG page, Two Collectors and Beyond, where you can see many video clips of our episodes, live videos, and you can leave us any comments, supports, or anything you guys may want to talk about. You can also follow us on our personal IG, Action Figure Guy 26, and Pokeddy, Pokeddey, where we showcase our collections and do live unboxings from time to time. I actually have one tonight. As always, thank you for your support. And you remember, you can find us on Anchor.fm, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and on most podcast platforms. Tell a friend, subscribe. Peace.
Peace out. Thank you.